Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up. We'll get started with our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at Baldwin Road and Highway 77. Now, it's going to be it was cool yesterday, but it's going to be warming up. We've got a warming trend coming up. In fact, by the end of the week, it's going to be 80 degrees. But today's high will be 76 and low 60, and water temperature remains at 72 degrees. Take a look at our river readings here. The river readings, the Apalachicola Bluntstown is sort of level off now for a day or two, but it's going to start dropping. But it got back up there around 10 feet. It was at 10.2 last night, and it's going to stay that way on through tonight, and on on Wednesday morning, it's going to start dropping out, okay? Now, take a look at the Choctawhatchee at Caryville. It's reading a 8.3, and it's on the rise this morning. It's going to rise on up until probably tomorrow morning and start dropping out, but it's at an 8.3. So both rivers are, still got a lot of water around compared to what we've had the last couple of years. Like I said, the water temperature, though, is 72 degrees in the Gulf. It stayed pretty steady despite all that cool weather we've had this past weekend. Now, let's take a look at our tide. Our tide today, we're really going into some neat tides. Our tide brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home. And right here on 23rd Street, run by and see those folks when carrying counts. Today's tide is just, we got a little bit of movement. It's going to be high at 8:11, okay, and then it's going to start dropping out to 5:51 tonight. So we have a drop in tide. Got a little bit of movement, but this weekend's tide look really strong, okay? That takes care of our marine weather. By the way, the marine forecast is west-northwest at 10 to 15. West-northwest at 10 to 15. All right? That takes care of it. Let's take our first break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, and welcome, Alan Courtney.
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Glad to have you. We got, once a month we get caught up with all the stuff on the bass scene, all kind of little things going on, and gadgets he's brought, and
like it or not.
Well, I mean, it's great. We got a lot of bass fishermen out there, and all different ages. I mean, these youngsters, they love to bass fish,
and that's a good thing.
And old timers
like me.
Well, I wasn't gonna say like you. I'm just gonna say old timers.
You bass fish too?
Well, let's get up. Let's talk real quick about the tournament we just had this past weekend. We're talking about the weather, how the weather really, and this is for all fishermen, saltwater and freshwater, how it sort of, I was out fishing too, and it sort of clicked off.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we were at a tournament at White City, project graduation, which I'll have the results on that next month. But it started out nice. It was a nice day, and got it probably to middle 70s, upper 70s, and close to 80. And fish were biting. We caught probably 12 or 15 keepers, and then that little cool front came through, and I think we caught 3 the rest of the day, and probably another 4-hour time frame. For us, it just shut them down.
Yeah,
they're still there. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But something happens when that pressure drop or something. And
and that's funny. Now, we really do a study on this. I was on Cape Sandblast fishing and had mine happen earlier, and yours happened later. But it's the same kind of stuff, and it's very interesting how that happened. I'll talk more about my experience tomorrow, but let's get into some of these pictures.
We're going to start out like we always do with the local club tournaments, and then we'll go into the monthly tournaments that are there in the Panhandle area.
Okay.
So.
All right.
You have the first picture there?
Let's see. Who's this first one right here?
You know him. This is Southern Bass Anglers here in Panama City. Kevin Toller. They fished Lake Seminole, and he won it with 17.46 pounds.
All right, Kevin.
Yeah, he's been doing real well here lately. Been taking my money quite a bit. So this is the Gulf Coast Bass Anglers. They're another club located here in Panama City. Eric Wills won it. They went to Lake Talquin, and he had 15.27 pounds.
All right.
And another local club, Lunkers Bass Club, and that's David Fisher. He happens to be my neighbor there. They went to Lake Seminole, and he had 13.81 pounds.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I think in that one, 13 was first, second, and third. So And here is the Bay County Bass Club. They went to Deer Point Lake, and that's Eric Werning. He won it with 11.42 pounds. You can see those are dark colored fish. Went up one of the creeks. Went up one of those creeks in Con. There's a couple big spotted bass there.
Man.
This is the Hub City Bassmasters. They're over in the Okaloosa County area. Greg Prince won it with 17.46 pounds. They had a 2-day tournament of Miller's Ferry.
Okay, so, that's where they had it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, those are good old spotted bass.
Yeah.
And this is the Seminole Bassmasters. They are based out of Mariana, and that's Daniel Adams. They always fish Lake Seminole. They had 22.31 pounds.
That's a pretty bass.
Yeah, that's a good bag. And Seminole is still just as good as it's been. It's still really, really good. Here's our Tuesday night tournaments. As you can see, we have these things every other Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight will be one. This is the 11th. Walter Martinez and Ronnie LeMasters had 9.12 pounds.
All right.
And on the 23rd, Wayne Gay and Richard Rogers had 11.15 pounds, and that's not bad weight, just a little 3-hour tournament, you know. So
that ain't bad. That's a nice
not
fish
bad
there.
at all. So we'll now get into, these are the monthly trails that they have around here. They're not clubs, they're monthly tournaments. Anybody can join and fish. And this is the Media Bass. They have a couple different trails around here. This one's the individual trail. They have a team tournament trail and an individual trail. This is the individual trail. They fished at Black Creek Lodge over at the Chattahoochee River. Andrew Hurley won it with 10.70 pounds.
Black Creek.
Mm-hmm. And this is the Media Bass team trail, and that one was out of White City. One of the guys must have been putting the boat up when they took the picture, but Donald Hurley and Jeff Oglesby won it with 10.80 pounds.
All right.
So, and this one looked like Eric a while ago. We have a Deer Point team trail that fishes the last Saturday of every month at Deer Point, and Eric Warning won it also at 12.15 pounds.
April was a good month for bass fishing.
Mm-hmm. And now we have the American Bass Anglers. They have two divisions, one at Lake Talquin and one at Seminole. This is the Talquin division, and Anthony Kennington won it with 25.76 pounds. So
Goodness gracious.
That's over a 5-pound average. That's really good.
That's a nice stringer.
No doubt about that. So,
wow.
And this is the American Bass Anglers at the Seminole division, and Clint Brown won it with 19.04 pounds. And you can tell the weights at Talquin and Seminole are way bigger than the weights on the river systems, like, you know, down at White City and over the Chattahoochee River system. So this is our Elite Anglers Team Trail. We have 4 of these tournaments a year. It's a $500 entry fee. This one was our second one. It was at Lake Talquin, fishing out of Ingram's Marina. David Boyd and David Howell won it with 23.41 pounds. We'll talk about David Boyd here in a little bit.
Okay, and our last one?
And that particular tournament there, 9 pounds was first lunker and 8 pounds was second lunker. Those are some big old fish.
Wow.
So, and our last one was the Winter Trail Classic, which is held out of White City. And Virgil Ogletree and Kevin Toller won it with a measly old 7.81 pounds. Got $1,000 for less than 8 pounds.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you just showed a 20-something pound and a 7-something pound. It doesn't make you could win anywhere.
River, I don't know what the deal is with that river. You know, it's just low weights. But you know, on the other hand, I would rather have it tough like that. It gives anybody a chance then.
Yeah.
If it's really tough, then anybody truly has a chance to win a tournament. As to where if the conditions are perfect, you've got those top few anglers that always do well, that are going to take the money every time.
Yeah.
So it levels the playing field out when it's tough conditions.
You know what I marvel at looking at all those pictures, I think about it, all those bass have been released and they're still back out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can catch them again.
You know, we use these culling rings to put in the fish's mouth, and so it'll make a small hole and sometimes a slit in their mouth. And I catch them quite often that have that in there, so you know that fish has been caught, been put in that boat, been taken into the to the weigh-in, and been released and survived. You know, so that's
3 or 4 or 5 different fishermen probably in a lifetime of that fish.
Sure.
At least you get a chance.
Bobby Smith does a little marking on them, you know, where he'll know if he catches them again, and he's been several times. Even when he's just practicing fishing, he'll mark the fish and let it go. And he said several times over the years he's caught those fish with those marks that he's put on them. So,
that's cool.
So, yeah.
Oh, look, we're going to come back in a second and show you what to do if you don't know which fish weighs the most and all. Okay, let's be right back. Okay, welcome back. So here with Alan Courtney. First, I want to say good morning to Terry Lynn down there. I ran into him at St. Joe State Park Saturday. Appreciate you coming over. Came over the truck, started talking to him, watched the show, and had a good little visit. So Terry, good morning to you, and glad you watched Panhandle Outdoors.
Yeah, I had several people. The other day I was in Sonny's, and I had 2 different people come up to me and said they.
And now you want to come on once a month?
Yeah. So that tells you right there.
You're
People do
famous,
watch the show. That's a good deal. Yeah.
Well, we hope y'all enjoy the show. We're just trying to spread the word about the great outdoors here in the Florida Panhandle. It's as simple as that. All of us want to enjoy it. We want you to enjoy it and your family to enjoy it.
Plenty of good stuff around here, that's for sure.
That's right.
Glad we live here. Not too cold. It does get hot, but it doesn't get too cold. You know?
It will warm up pretty soon, but this past weekend was cool. Look here, Alan. You brought all kinds of little gadgets. This is cool. Tell us about some of the stuff you brought.
Well, especially, I was telling you the weights a while ago about the Winter Trail Classic last weekend when 6.91 pounds was 5th place, which was in the money, which was $200, to first place was 7.81 pounds, which was $1,000. So it was less than a pound, 0.9, was the difference in $200 and $1,000. So
yeah.
You better most of the time you don't think that catching a little bitty fish, sometimes we'll just hold them up and go, well, that one looks a little bit bigger, throw them back.
Right.
And most of the time that's fine, but in a tournament that has these weights as close as this is, and you never know until you get to weigh in, and you think the one that I had come off may have gave me a quarter pound more, no big deal. But it's a big deal when the weights are this close. And like I say, once again, you don't know that. So
yeah.
I was going to show how a couple of the items here, for ensuring that. But first of all, we have this scale. They got to be 12 inches. Any tournament fisherman knows that, but I know a lot of people out there may not realize what we do. But you put the nose of the fish up against the front. Tail has to go over the 12-inch, which is right here, before you can even keep them. That's a state law.
Okay.
I think south of the Swanee River is 14-inch minimum, so it's 12 inches up in North Florida.
Okay.
So, and then certain lakes have different limits, which I think Talcon is a minimum 17-inch before you can actually keep that fish, which that's a good 3-pound fish. So, and they have these. I brought some scales here that I'm not going to turn it on for you, but they're like little computers inside these days. You can tell it. Yeah, you can. Once you turn it on, it'll ask you what's your limit. Is it a 5-fish limit? Is it a 7-fish limit? Depending on the tournament you're in. So when you catch your first fish, you'll open these clamps, put it around his lip, weigh him, and it'll tell you how much it weighs, and then it will go ahead and register that fish. It knows that that's the first fish you've caught for the day, so it'll register the number 1 on that fish. So then we have these culling balls, we call them, that have numbers on them. So then you would get the one that has number 1 on it, attach it to that fish, put it in your live well, so then this knows. So you keep doing fish number 2 that you weigh. It knows that that's the second one you've weighed in. You get number 2, you put it on there, put it in your live well. So till you've got 5 in your live well. And then when you catch your 6th one and weigh it, it knows if you've already told it that your limit for the day is only 5 fish. So it knows that, okay, I've just weighed in the 6th one. So the number that comes up then will tell you which one to get rid of at that point. So if it comes up with a number 3, then it tells you, okay, get rid of number 3 because the one you just weighed is heavier, and put that number 3 ball on the one you just weighed. So that may sound confusing, but it's really not, But
that's a good system.
Yeah, it's pretty technical.
A lot of guys use that.
Sure, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. I would see. Yeah. I would see that'd be very.
Yeah, but it's really amazing. So, and I was going to show you.
And people think, sit here thinking, well, that's going to be easy to do. But when you're out there fishing, you got 3 or 4 fish in there, and you got another big one on, then you got to.
Well, and especially when you have a million little fish. We just caught this past weekend. They were all just pound, a quarter, pound and a half, no size, but with these weights like I just showed you at that Winter Trail, $800 difference in less than a pound. Yeah. You want to know that you're letting go the right one, And another thing people use.
The unreliable method.
Yeah, and this to me,
way back to biblical
times. This is just better than anything. It doesn't lie. You know? I mean, there's just you won't know by using these how much the fish weighs, but you'll certainly know which one is the bigger fish, and that's really what you're after,
And all it is, I mean, you can make it yourself. You got a little level.
It's just a beam, and you hang the fish on each end, and there we go.
Look at there. See, that's just a little level. You get at the hardware store.
And the heavier fish, by just at least little bit, it's going to be hanging more, lower on one end than the other end, and that lets you know for sure right there which one to let go of. Like I say, you don't know how much he weighs on using these, but it doesn't really matter. You just want to know which one is the one to get rid of.
That's a good little gadget.
I use this more than I use the scales. The scales work fine. They take a little longer to do, but I just trust the scales, because. There's no electronics involved in these. Nothing's going to break,
Yeah, so you got a backup system. You got
I just trust the balance beams more than I do anything, So, and they have to be, if you're bringing in a fish that is under 12 inches, depending on the rules of the tournament, most of the time you're going to lose that fish and your biggest fish.
Ooh.
Yeah. So if you had a 5-pound bass and you weighed in one that was, they'll put them on here at weigh-in and fan their tails across there, and if he does not touch that 12-inch limit, that fish goes back, so you've lost a pound there.
Yeah.
And if you had a 5-pounder, you're going to throw that one back, so you've lost 6 pounds by bringing in a short fish. So you have to have your ducks in a row and know that you got one over 12. And those river systems, like I say, they're mostly a lot smaller fish. There's plenty of them that you'll bring in occasionally. They're just 12 and a 16th or 12 and a 32nd.
Yeah.
So you better know that he measures before you bring him in.
Yeah,
So,
that would be disappointing.
yep. So.
Well, listen, I know this time of year it's easy to, the water temperature is pretty cool compared to what's going to be in July and August. So it's pretty easy to keep them live as compared to the summertime.
It is. They make different products out there. Rejuvenate is one, and Angler's Tackle carries, over in Callaway carries different products that you can add to your live wells that'll keep the fish supposedly kind of slows their metabolism down, and they don't get stressed out in your live well and keep them fish longer, keep them alive longer. But right now, it's not that big of an issue, but when it gets hot, it's easy to kill every single one in there. You have to have a good, and once again, in a tournament, you've got anywhere from a 1/4 pound to a 1/2 pound per every fish you weigh in dead. They're going to take a 1/4 pound to a 1/2 pound off your total weight. So it pays to keep them alive in that sense as well.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's take our final break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's get started first with our fishing game forecast brought to us by Mark Cowart. Taking a look at our times right here, we're looking at our 10:53 a.m. to 12:53, right in the middle of the day, right there about 11 to 1 really. And then tonight, 11:15 to 1:15 tonight, if you're getting ready to go floundering, and they're brought to us by Mark Cowart at Edgewater Beach Realty. Okay, got a lot of things going on. Now this weekend, we're going to get into some bass tournaments, but we talked about the redfish tournament over at Nick's, Trey Nick's, and this is our 8th annual over here. On the other side of Freeport, over at Basin Bayou, and it's going to be a nice one over there. It's going to be $200 per team, payout of $10,000, and this is a local tournament, and they've done it for 8 years now, and Trey Nick will be running it, and the boys really enjoy fishing over there. So get a chance. I'm going to try to talk to them some this week and give you more information on it. All right? And we also have some Seminole Bassmasters. They're having one over there too.
Yeah, that's the local club over there, Seminole Bassmasters. They're putting on. This is I think the first annual Seminole Bassmaster Invitational. It's going to benefit Covenant Hospice over there, which is certainly a good cause, So
yes,
if anybody's interested, it is this Saturday coming up. Paying back 80%, so therefore I'm assuming 20% will go to the hospice. It's $100 per team pot. So if you're interested, you can just show up, or you can go to my website, look on the 2013 annual tournaments, and that will also be there in the information on how to get a hold of these guys. So
good deal. Good deal.
So,
now we've had a couple of boys doing real well.
Yes, we have. I've mentioned before about Drew Benton fishing the FLW Tour this year, and that he won the first one. At
we had him on the show after that. Everybody's
right.
excited to see him.
Won $100,000 in that one. He's fished 3 already. This fourth one. There's 6 in that tour every year. $4,500 entry fee each tournament. So. That's a lot of money,
Yeah.
It's an awful lot of money. But it's paid off for him so far. He won $100,000 on the first one. That was at Lake Okeechobee. Then the second one he came in 15th. I think he won about $14,000 or so there. Then this past month, he was at Beaver Lake in Arkansas. He was leading it the first day,
Wow.
He actually was, but then fell off and came in 29th, but still got another $10,000 or $12,000, So in 3 tournaments, he's won $124,000 roughly. That's not too bad, So his next tournament is a week from this coming up Saturday at Lake Eufaula. So home water.
So he's getting back closer to home. He's out in Arkansas. He can fish.
I think after that, then you're going to Oklahoma. So they have it all over the country. So it costs you, on top of the entry fee to fish these things, it costs you a lot of money to go.
Travel,
hotels, food, and
all that
gas
money.
Gas money,
and
pulling the boat.
Right,
the gas mileage goes down.
Yeah, it does.
It really does. So
that's amazing.
So we want to wish him luck. He's right now he's second place for Angler of the Year, and that is a really big deal in this trail that he's fishing. And he's first place for Rookie of the Year. So
wow,
he's doing
that would be
really
wonderful.
Awesome. Oh yeah, so he's got 3 tournaments to go. The goal here is to fish the Forest Wood Cup. The top 38 points-wise at the end of the season will get invited to that, and that's a $500,000 first place for that one. So we just want him to keep on doing well. He's from right here in Panama City. And then I want to talk about another angler. There's David Boyd. I showed you earlier. He won the Elite Anglers Team Trail at Talcott. He's another local that there's an amateur way to make it to the Bassmaster Classic, and you start with the local federated club. So I can fumble through all this here. and which is umpteen thousands of people are in these federated clubs throughout the United States.
Right.
And you're shooting for about 5 amateur spots to the Bassmaster Classic. So you start with a federated club. You're going to fish your local qualifiers, which we have 4 here between Talquin and White City and Seminole. And so you qualify at a local qualifier to make the state tournament. So last year the state tournament was at Seminole. It rotates in Florida. It rotates from Okeechobee to St. John's to Kissimmee to Seminole. So every 4 years it's going to be in your area somewhere close to you. You know. So he fished the state tournament here and qualified for the Southern Divisionals, which they take the top 6 boaters and the top 6 non-boaters from the state tournament to go to the Southern Divisionals.
Okay.
So, and that was last week at Douglas Lake, and I think that was in Alabama. So then you fishing against 7 other states there, which was Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Kentucky, and Tennessee, brought their top 12 to fish. So 1 from each state is going to move on to the nationals from there. Mm-hmm. So David Boyd won from all the guys that came from Florida. He was number 1. Okay. Now he may have come in 9th. I think he came in 9th in the tournament, but he was the number 1 from the state of Florida in that tournament. I got you. So 1 from each state moves on to the nationals. So, so he was the winner from Florida from the guys that went with him. So he's going to the nationals now.
Good deal.
And the nationals is those other divisions, you know, 1 from each state. And now 1 from each division will move to the Bassmaster Classic. So that's the point he's at right now. Hopefully that made sense to you.
All right.
But he's got 1 more tournament to go, and if he beats those other 7 guys that came from the Southern Divisionals, that's all he's interested in now is beating those guys, and he'll get invited to the Bassmaster Classic, which is another $500,000 first place tournament. So I want to wish him
real quick before we close out. What this weekend average fishing? What kind of bait do you want to fish with?
Well, if it's going to stay warm and get warm, top water's been good for me. We caught most of the fish even this past Saturday before that cool front came in. They were like 90% of them on buzz baits. Just throwing that buzz bait just fast as you can. Just throw it. They're going to hit it, you know. Okay. But it's top water time coming. Top water time. No doubt about it. So.
All right, we're going to have to close it up. Alan, as always, appreciate coming.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
There's a lot of great information. Check his website, Around the Tournament Trail. Have any hits yet on it?
Coming up on 600 and...
okay, more than I have. Okay.
$500,000.
Thank y'all for watching the show, folks. Do something good for somebody today, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.